I think that's pretty good.
Hell yeah. That was
Much
good. That's
better.
the intro right there. Right? Okay. What's good, y'all? Welcome to Talks and Strange Thoughts. My name is Carlos. Some people call me Chacho.
And my name is Octavio. Some people call me Octagon.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Episode 2. Thank you for all the love and support everybody showed. This platform is for everybody to make their voices heard. So the fact that so many people engaged and, followed us and showed love is just a reflection of how the community is together and wants to bring awareness to everybody else, which is a great sign to see.
Yeah, we very much appreciate everyone following us, sharing our video, watching it if y'all did.
Today, as we're recording, it is July the 18th, 2020. How are you doing today?
Dude, I'm good. Just chilling,
Are you good?
sipping on some wine. I got my new shirt. This Descent is Patriotic, ACLU. Uh, where they'll actually be featured or mentioned on our talk today. They're doing some important stuff out in Portland. Definitely support them.
Right, right. So today's topic, we're going to be discussing protests, but more in particular, the protests happening in Portland.
The media hasn't covered it. No one's covering it. Portland is still out there protesting with a bit of a twist now, with federal agents now in unmasked vehicles, and they're being unmarked themselves, not saying who they are. It's a lot to talk about, and we're gonna dive deep into that. Who's actually out there, why they're out there, and just try to break it down for y'all.
People have been in the streets protesting, demanding an end to racist policing. The police have been getting violent, throwing tear gas into crowds, shooting people in the head with rubber bullets, just causing all this chaos. And the fact that the media is going away from that and not reporting these issues anymore, it makes you wonder why.
Yeah, it just is something that the media is doesn't want to talk about. I don't think they see it as important anymore. Even in social media, though, you see it dwindling as well. It's kind of hard to try to see. Like, now you have to actually search. Like, hey, what is going on? Like, so Portland is still out there. They are in their 59th consecutive day of protesting as of today. They have taken to the streets every day demanding an end, as you said, to racist policing. And it's gotten the attention of the president as well, because now he's talked about it in his tweets, and I think even in interviews, about how he wants these protests to end. I think he sees it as a way for him to be reelected, to target the protest and to try to say that he is law and order or whatever.
The protests, the people there are not marching with the idea of getting violent. They're getting provoked and instigated. The cops are over here throwing tear gas at them, just being really aggressive to the point where people are getting fed up. There's this black led organization called Don't Shoot Portland that sued and successfully blocked local police from using tear gas on their people.
That organization sued the police, and they actually got them to ban tear gas, but the police is still using tear gas till this day. So they basically aren't following the law, and obviously Trump has gotten Trump's attention. He passed that executive order to protect uh, protect statues, and with that executive order, DHS has responded that it's their duty to protect those statues. And where are they going? To the cities where there are protests right now. One of them being Portland, where, as we said, it's continued, hasn't stopped, and instead of them squashing the protests as they wanted to, they've just made these protests bigger. So
Not only are the local police, struggling to keep everything in order, President Trump actually sent militarized special ops to the street of Oregon, of Portland. These special ops being the Border Patrol. Why is Border Patrol over there? Who knows? But they're using military tactics and tools on the protesters. What for? They're there marching peacefully.
so in this article, uh, that details that there's Border Patrol actually out there. This guy that wrote the article says that there was a memo put out by DHS, that's titled "Public Affairs Guidance: CBP Support to Protect Federal Facilities and Property." So basically, the memo that CBP or DHS put out and CBP took control of was to enforce Donald Trump's law of protecting statues. I know everyone saw that you get 10 years if you tear a statue down. That's why DHS is out in Portland. That's their reasoning, that they are out there. They want to protect American communities tax. I mean, they call themselves the PACT, Protect American Communities Task Force. So they're out there because Donald Trump, basically, he put them out there. They're out there in unmasked and unmarked vehicles. You can't tell who they are. There's been videos out there of people recording or like confronting them.
Yeah, and honestly, that's not right. People
Use your words. What
in
are you
these
doing?
videos, people are asking the special
Use your
forces,
words.
like,
What
hey,
are you
who are
doing?
you? What are you doing? Who are you working
Use
with?
your words.
And they just stay quiet. Like, they don't acknowledge
What is
what's
going
going
on?
on, and they just
Who
are
you?
kidnapping people. That's what's
MLG will
happening
get
pretty
you
much.
out.
Yeah, so like to de-escalate a situation, especially when it comes with law enforcement and civilians, the first thing that needs to be known is, who are you? Like, who is this person approaching me? Like, can they even put me in handcuffs? Should I fight back? Like, who are they? Just some random civilians? I don't know. Like, so I think police knows that, which is why they are so distinct. They have their vehicles, they have their uniforms on, but these guys are camouflaged out, no badge, don't say who they belong to, and then put you in a van. I don't. It's just like you. I mean, you should. I feel like you need to fight back. Like, if you see something like that, because, and I feel like most civilians would want to, because you're not about to get put into a random van. Like, society, we as a society, like, have already acknowledged that police, okay, yeah, like police cars, police will follow authority, but when it comes to getting thrown into a van, when some people just are approaching you, like, unlike,
Right.
yeah, exactly.
Right. And these Amber Alerts are real. People go missing. Like, what's your family member going to think or do if they pick you up and they just leave the person there, not even acknowledging where they're taking you, how to find you? People could get locked up, and just it'll be a while for them for their family members to find out where they're at.
Yeah, and I actually wanted to touch up on who's doing the kidnapping, who is in the streets like this, like, not being undetectable, riding around in vans, throwing people in there, shooting people with rubber bullets. And it's actually it's been reported now that it's DHS, Department of Homeland Security, and it looks like it's CBP Customs and Border Patrol, and wow, like that's crazy that they are in Portland. Customs and Border Patrol usually patrol around. They usually patrol along the borders. Portland is not along the border. Portland is off the coast. Department of Homeland Security being a very new department in our country since 2001, and it being so powerful now that it's being used not just to spy on citizens, but also now fly drones over people. What do you think about that?
It's not right.
Drones that are used to kill people abroad, and now it's being used to protests as if monitor protests inside the country, as if they're going to use those same drones that they use abroad on people here.
Yeah, so Barack Obama was the first one that started using these drones. He sent them to the Middle East, bombing innocent people, pretty much committing war crime. But that's a different topic. These drones are being used, they're being paid for by our tax money. Let's just start there, like that's not right. If anything, we should have I'm going on a little rant, but if anything, we should have the option of deciding where our tax money is going to go, because to begin with, the military, the cops, they get more than enough money, and we're the ones funding them. They don't need to be having all these different weapons that are used overseas on our own people.
Yeah, and also, where are these crazy right wingers that say they're ready to take up arms against the government if they start abusing their power? Well, we have a situation now in Portland where the federal government has federal agents there, unmarked vehicles, unmarked in who they are on their body, taking people, putting them in vans. Are y'all going to take up arms against these people? Now would be the perfect time. No, but of course they're not going to be out there. They probably support what's going on. So
For sure they do. Oh my god.
like, why are these guys at in Portland in the streets trying to take on protesters they don't have any jurisdiction over, that they shouldn't have any jurisdiction over? Leave that up to police. I mean, are police, is policing really failing? Like, do can they not handle some protesters like that we need border patrol out here trying to suppress them? And so I wanted to actually talk about how Border Patrol, Customs, and CBP came about, how the DHS came about, the Department of Homeland Security, where CBP is under. And they actually did not start until 2001, after the 9/11 attacks. We saw the 9/11 attacks as a country, something that couldn't happen again. And so the Bush administration passed the Patriot Act, passed a lot of laws now where basically the government can see what we're doing at all times. They're looking at what we're doing in our phones. They'll probably watch this conversation before it even gets put out. They got agents out there definitely looking at everything. DHS and the I had something that I wanted to talk about. Where is it at? So yeah, the DHS was established with very vague and broad authorities. So it began under Bush after 9/11. Go ahead, tap into everyone's phones. It expanded under the Obama administration, and Trump is now pushing it to his limits, which is, let's put Border Patrol into the streets, trying to suppress protesters. I think Trump is doing it for his own reasonings. He's trying to win an election. He wants to seem tough. He wants to seem like he actually is putting these protests down, but he is pushing its limits with the law. And this isn't the first time, actually. When he was in DC, he went out and took that picture in front of the church, and for him to even get out there, he had to clear the park up and tear gas people in the streets so he can get that picture in. And who was out there? Also unmasked, unmarked agents. No one knew who they were. The pictures were there, like they were all camouflaged out, but they didn't say who they were. Turns out that they were federal agents as well. CBP, DHS are the ones out there. And so this Department of Homeland Security that started 19 years ago, we're older than that program. So it's crazy to think about how now that program is being used to essentially shut down dissent. Check my shirt out. Dissent is patriotic. So in the city of Portland, a lot is playing out with the agents now being in the streets. Obviously, they're probably working with the police there. The protesters have grown in size now. The feds, coming from Trump, they wanted to squash the protest. They wanted to end it. Instead, they've lit a fire on the protest. Many were saying that the protests were dying down. It was already a month and a half into it, almost 2 months, if not 2 months already. And this past Saturday, the protest actually grew in size, and is its biggest. It's the biggest it's ever been in the past 2 months now, because the feds have went in there and overstepped their boundaries.
Yeah, so the protests in Portland, everybody's so united. You have communities giving protesters the resources, water, food, whatever it is, medical aid, because they feel like it's them versus the police, the government.
Yeah,
Because
so
they see that yeah.
yeah, and in this piece of this article, actually, it says, and I quote, it says, along with street medics, protesters have the support of a snack van that offers free Gatorade, instant noodles, makeshift kitchen called Riot Ribs that cook bratwurst, whatever that is. I don't know what they're eating out in Portland, and even a Beyond Meat sausage. Someone on Saturday had set up a stand selling T-shirts promoting racial equity and hand washing. Like, so, not only are they out there supporting each other, but they're taking care of each other in the middle of this pandemic. And so now we have the mayor of Portland wanting the police to, no, not the police. The mayor of Portland wanting the
Federal authorities
to get out of Portland. He's made that statement publicly. He's told them to stay in their office buildings in Portland, or just get out of Portland in general. But there's been a divide now, because obviously Trump wants the Portland. Trump wants the federal agents there. The mayor wants the federal agents out, and then now there's a commissioner in Portland that has taken to the streets with the protesters. And I want to pull up an article.
Yeah, so while you pull that up, I just feel like we should touch on that. Most of these protests have been peaceful. The cops, federal and local, they're just pushing boundaries, instigating, antagonizing people, just trying to provoke a reason to get violent. And for what? Just to scare off the public. That way they don't continue coming out. But like you said, it's just backfiring, and it's made people more angry, more upset, and they're letting their voices be heard.
Oh yeah, so the city commissioner, Joanne Hardesty, went to join protesters gathered outside the county justice center downtown, saying the city will not allow armed military forces to attack our people. Today we showed the country and the world that the city of Portland, and even as much as we fight amongst ourselves, will come together to stand up for our constitutional rights. So she says that, and then she wrote something on Twitter telling the mayor to allow her to take over the police, because obviously the mayor has not been able to. Uh, he has his disagreements with Trump. He has his disagreements with the federal agents there. The commissioner has her disagreements now with the mayor there. There's obviously a divide between the commissioner and the mayor now. She wants to take over the police now because I believe that she thinks that the mayor is not doing a good job in controlling the police, because obviously the police is working with the federal agents. So there's a divide in Portland. Obviously, the protesters have their own set of demands, the reason and why they're out there. So things are really getting.
Yeah, and I read this article talking about how federal officials, like federal officers, I'm sorry, they didn't have proper training for these protests. You know, they're just going over there, you know, just to go. You know, they didn't get trained for that. They don't know the procedure. They don't know protocol, and for that same reason, it's just the fact that they're making it worse. They're adding gas to the fire. The tactical agents deployed by Homeland Security include officials from a group known as BORTAC, the Border Patrol equivalent of SWAT team, a highly trained group that normally is tasked with investigating drug smuggling organizations. So why the fuck are they, you know, governing the fucking people on the streets? You know, they have no proper training for that.
Yeah, and it's due to Congress establishing the Department of Homeland Security with very vague and broad authorities, and now we've seen how much is expanded. They are now in duty, like the president now has used the Department of Homeland Security to do whatever he wants them to do, which is squash these protests.
Yeah, man, it's not. Whatever they're doing is not working.
So
They're
look,
just
I'm reading this right here from an federal agent. Actually, I think he is an ex-federal agent. He says during the DC protests, many federal agents removed their insignia, which is what describes who they are and what they're there for, or who they are actually, what particular branch they belong to. Bud explained, referring to June 1st protests in front of the White House where protesters were tear gassed. What the agencies discovered was that they could do this without much blowback from Congress. So here's a former senior DHS official saying that they did it in D.C. to allow Trump to take that picture in front of the church with the Bible in his hand, and they realized that Congress wasn't going to do anything about it. They didn't push back on them. Trump knew that. They knew that. Why not take it to the streets of Portland and flex their power there?
power.
Yeah.
It's just like they keep finding loopholes and just ways to keep doing whatever the fuck they want to do.
Yeah, man.
Honestly.
And so DHS, CBP actually deployed the drones in the Minneapolis protest. They even wrote in their letter, in their internal memo that they gave to each other, that they, well, you know what? He sent a CBP a letter escorting the agency. They have the drones on standby if needed. Yeah. Okay. So CBP usually uses drones to conduct border surveillance. They're using those drones that we use abroad. They used them actually in Minneapolis, where George Floyd was killed, where some of the biggest protests were, some of the most intense ones between police and citizens. And so they use that drone there, and they are, dude, I don't even know if they're using them in Portland, to be honest, but
Said one could only assume, but if they use it over there, they have to use it over here. Especially
yeah.
with how big and how violent everything has gotten. Yeah, man. So these protests, they're gonna keep happening. You know, people are gonna be in the streets, especially if, you know, we have police officers and federal fucking special ops coming at us a certain way. You know, you don't fight fire with fire. That just makes everything worse. It's just amazing how the national media has just turned its back from this subject. So much is happening, and they're just deciding not to cover that and just you know, cover random bullshit that doesn't matter.
Those protests are definitely they're gonna continue, especially if the government is provoking the protesters. Like it's only gonna piss more people off if they see federal agents that have no reason to be there. Especially now that we know that it's actually Border Patrol that's down there or up there. If you want to get specific.
Yeah, and that this is the reason why we can't let anybody censor the internet what we have to say. You know, it's free speech. We found out about this because of the videos, everything that, you know, this that goes on Twitter, on Instagram. The videos are being leaked, and you know, it's only a matter of time until they try to limit what we could post and say. You know, Facebook is already going out of its way and not allowing as much content to go on to be uploaded.
Yeah, so we've had mainstream media; they get to decide what gets put on TV or not. Thankfully, we have Twitter and other platforms where even though there still might be some censorship, we have a better understanding of what's going on around the country and even around the world. And Portland, well, what's going on in Portland, well, we wouldn't have known about if it wasn't for social media. I think the media now is covering the federal agents there, but they didn't cover the past 60 days that they've been out there in the streets every day. They stopped covering the protests, although they've happened in many cities still in the country. I think just saw Chicago. Protesters were out there for Black Lives, and they were getting tear gassed by police still till this day, and that's nowhere to be found in the media. The media stopped covering this probably a week into George Floyd's death, and we've been about 2 months, almost 2 months now, and it's coming up again only in Portland because Trump has decided to put those agents there, and it sparked a backlash, not just among protesters, but the federal agents have also threatened legal observers and medics, and now it's became something that the media will cover now because it is people that have some type of authority getting threatened.
Right. You know, like you said, you have journalists, you know, people out in the scenes, and they're getting shot at. They're getting shot at while on camera, you know, like it goes to show you that they don't care. They don't care who sees. They don't care, you know, who you tell. Like, they're pretty much saying that they could do whatever they want. Instead of being the bigger person and like hearing people out and change the system, change how police govern their people, they're gonna keep happening. And it's up to us. It's up to like the people to get informed. Just go do your research. Look, try to look things up. Pretty much.
Yeah, as you said, man, the government should have came to the bargaining table with protesters everywhere about what is it that we are trying to accomplish. These protests happen in so many cities. There obviously needs to be some type of reform. The status quo cannot be continued. There's something wrong with the status quo. People don't pour into the streets by the thousands. These protests in these past 2 months have been reported as the biggest protest that the country has ever seen in its history. So for the government to their only response is to suppress rather than to come to the table, see what the demands are, what is it that we can change, but for them to just outright try to end the protest, they will continue. They will get stronger, maybe not now, but we keep putting it under the, we keep shoving it under the rug. Um, there will be more of these protests. There will be more of the same level of protest that we've seen after the video of George Floyd. And it will continue if the government doesn't address the issues that people want addressed, which is the policing in America, the racism in America.
Yeah, so episode 2, that's a wrap. We thank everybody for all the love and support y'all showed us. Our content's only gonna get better from here. Better visuals, better sound, and we thank y'all again. Continue to share our video, subscribe, tell a friend and tell a friend.
Yeah. We hope this was informative. We really just want to inform people about what's going on. There's a lot going on. We're trying to touch on stuff that is important, stuff that is controversial, stuff that needs to be talked about, and speaking truth to what is going on, especially in terms of our government and sometimes how they overreach, and we have to be, and we want to be able to call it out and be able to explain it too as well. So appreciate y'all.
Appreciate y'all. Until next time, adios.
Later.